Yeah, I would like to thank AOS for giving me this opportunity and thank Dr. Sangeet for your kind introduction. I'll be talking about this cataract and diabetic macular edema, two most important causes of blindness in the country, coexisting, and how do we go about managing these cases. Before I proceed with the talk, I'd like to briefly review this article that's published in BJO, which talks about the rate of development of diabetic macular edema in patients with cataracts. It's basically a multi-center national diabetic retinopathy database study with anonymous data extraction done from 19 centers. And inclusion criteria, they included all eyes undergoing cataract surgery in patients with diabetes with no history of diabetic macular edema prior to start. Data had to be recorded for 4 years, 2 years prior to surgery and 2 years post-surgery. The main outcome measure was the rate of development of first episode of treatment requiring DME in relation to timing of cataract surgery. And they've realized the rate of treatment requiring diabetic macular edema increased sharply after surgery, peaking in the 3 to 6 months period after the cataract. That means that when you have to do a cataract surgery of well control, this is the period that you should look out for any recurrence of macular edema. And the rate of development of macular edema depends on the pre-existing severity of diabetic retinopathy. Like in no diabetic retinopathy, there was 1% increase following cataract surgery. In mild, moderate, it is almost double from 2.6 to 5 and 10. Surprisingly, PDR, they found that PDR diabetic edema, they did not worsen. The diabetic macular edema did not worsen. Okay, now, during co-management of cataract and diabetic macular edema, importances of good preoperative assessment, diabetic control, and then treatment of macular edema, cataract. This is how the flow of the talk will be. So, most importantly is the grading of the cataract and diabetic macular edema. The extent, location of the opacity as well as central of the total, and also severity of the retinopathy apart from diabetic macular edema. The peripheral retina, whether there is any proliferative component, and relative subjectively, it's important that we know the relative contribution of each of the causes. I mean, the treatment decisions are sometimes very dependent on what is the relative contribution of each of this cataract and diabetic macular edema. If patient has significant cataract and macular edema, we would choose to treat one way, and the cataract is not so significant, we would choose to treat a different way with a different molecule. And this is the diabetic macular edema can present in different complexities, simple center involving diabetic macular edema, or it can have a proliferative diabetic retinopathy component. We should look carefully. Grading, that's what I said, grading is very important in detailed retinal evaluation of the retinal periphery with indirect ophthalmoscopy, or if you have a wide field fundus photography, that's a very good tool. And OCT and OCT angio are very important to give a prognosticate with the biomarkers available regarding the visual recovery. And also it's good to do, and we make sure that we do, especially in combined cataract and vitrectomy, undilated evaluation to look for any early NVI or NVA. So, and importantly, it's not all about central foveal thickness. I mean, for macular edema, so should some thick retinas see well and some thin retinas with no macular edema see poorly. So it's good to understand the OCT and pick up some biomarkers so that anti-segment surgeon also can counsel regarding this. So importantly, is disorganization of retinal inner layers. You can see that there is in the screen on the right-hand side, there is disorganization of retinal layers and failure to identify the boundaries of GCL, IPL, and inner nuclear layers. And the extent of drill, as we call it, disorganization of retinal inner layers, correlates to the worst visual acuity. And and the studies have shown, and even OCT angio studies have shown, that the disorganization of retinal inner layers correlate with the amount of macular ischemia, it's more so the deep capillary plexus. So if you see a drill, you can expect there is a macular ischemia and prognosticate accordingly to the patient. And also, it's good to have a look at the outer retinal hyperreflective lines that you see. Any disruption in the external limiting membrane ellipsoid zone indicates that chronicity. And even if there is a marked reduction in the macular edema, I should be careful that we still give a guarded prognosis to these kind of patients. And lastly, important to pick up vitreoretinal interface abnormalities, and it will be better to do a combined surgery if there is a significant cataract, and not try any intravitreal injection that could add burden to the patient, also will not give any benefit to the patient. And OCT angio, if you have an access, this is a good tool, especially the deep capillary plexus assessment, where studies have shown that if there is greater ischemia in the deep capillary plexus, or the microorganisms are more in the deep capillary plexus, they may be less like they are likely to be resistant to VEGF treatment, and probably you can choose the different. Importance of metabolic control. This picture shows in a 6-month gap how a tight control of hypertensive retinopathy and diabetic mixed retinopathy with macular edema. Good control results in resolution of macular edema. This is what probably we should offer to all our patients, especially with coexisting retinopathy, that you aim for a better, not only blood sugar control, but also a glycosylated hemoglobin control. Is insist on a better control of that before undertaking a cataract surgery. This is again with a tight metabolic control, you can see the reversal of the retinopathy. And focal laser it still has a role, especially in non-center involving diabetic macular edema, classically CSME as we call it. It's good to do a focal laser in these patients before for all CSME, and wait for a 6 weeks to 8 weeks before you plan for a cataract surgery. And especially when regards to lasers in cataract surgery, sometimes the yellow laser is a wonderful tool because of there is less scatter and better penetration, and safely do in all cataract size, the PRP, especially if there's a proliferative component. This is an example where there's a significant cataract and there's a vein occlusion. You can see new vessels in the periphery. Traditionally, it will be difficult to do in a green laser, but it would safely burn with a yellow laser. And this is what is the tricky point of center involving diabetic macular edema, which is mostly we're concerned about, where there is no proliferative component in the periphery. And cataract, so the different scenarios I'll be discussing. A cataract with a treatment naive diabetic macular edema, one should aim to bring the central foveal thickness to less than 250 microns. If it is a significant cataract and the patient is keen, or the referral doctor is keen for to do a cataract surgery, dexamethasone implant is my first choice. We'll give a dexamethasone implant and advise for cataract surgery after 4 weeks. And suppose if the patient is an established glaucoma patient on 2 or more drugs, then probably you could think of anti-VEGF injections. This is a case managed in this fashion. And this is a patient managed in such a way, dex implant followed by a cataract surgery, good resolution of macular edema. And what if another scenario is already you've seen, because these patients do not typically follow up with one surgeon, an ophthalmologist. And if you get a patient with a diabetic macular edema and on anti-VEGF requiring a cataract surgery, and if there is a edema more than 250 microns in this patient, it's better to plan a cataract surgery 7 to 10 days after intravitreal injection. And always good to aim for a retinal thickness of less than 250 microns before cataract surgery. And the anti-VEGFs are also good for all steroid responders and any PDR with DIANI without any fibrous proliferation. It's a better flat. Fibrous proliferation, there is a risk of crunched retinal detachments happening. And of course, any rubiosis iridis is better to give anti-VEGF followed by laser. And cataract and high-risk PDR with DME, if there is an elevated fibrovascular proliferation, again, DEX implant would be a good thing for an advisor cataract surgery after 4 weeks, and PRP to be done 1 month after cataract surgery. When it's a flat NV, of course, anti-VEGF can be safely given. And this is a patient managed with this is a severe NPDR with diabetic macular edema, managed with 1 injections of Eylea. Significant retinopathy is reduced. This is the time we would advise the patient to go in for a cataract surgery. Resolution of macular edema. And regarding combining of cataract surgery with intravitreal injections, I best avoid it. Probably I've never advised or never let anybody do because there is no typical advantage, and the post-procedure inflammation infections are difficult to investigate and treat in this kind of patients, unless the patient is very sick that he cannot even come. So the answer is typical no for combining cataract surgery with intravitreal injections. And important thing is while cataracts and intravitreal surgery in patients on intravitreal injections, is good to avoid pre and post-operative antibiotic drops, because antibiotic drops because they tend cause antibiotic resistance, and probably, God forbid, if you have a enough, it'll be tricky to manage. Do not use routine antibiotic that you use for a cataract surgery as antibiotic prophylaxis, because they tend to because you need to keep them for your cataract surgery. So do not use them while giving intravitreal injections. And in cataract surgery, in patients on intravitreal injections, it is anticipated a higher risk of inflammation, infection, or PCH. Yeah. Lastly, is a slide from a dear friend showing the complications of a cataract surgery post Ozurdex implant. I think I am finished with the talk.
Dr. Raja, is your talk over?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Raja, for nice